Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to the Leon County Board of County Commissioners monthly meeting. This meeting, May 10th, 2022. We thank each of you for your presence today. We thank those who are watching us on our channel, and we certainly delight in the wonderful community which is ours. We have this afternoon for our opening Pledge of Allegiance, our invocation from the Reverend Gary Linton, pastor of Seminole Baptist Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our chairperson. Will we please stand and we invite Pastor Linton forward.
Mr. Chair, if you give me a second, I have a brief introduction of Pastor Linton. He's from Seminole Baptist Church, a native of Tallahassee. Pastor Gary attended Rickers High School. Rickers Raider. My daughter's a Raider. She'd be proud. And went on to receive degrees in pastoral theology. After 25 years of bivocational pastoring, he left the banking industry to become the full-time pastor of Seminole Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. Pastor Gary has also been blessed to have a wonderful wife, 3 beautiful daughters, and 4 beautiful grandchildren.
Yes, I do.
Pastor Gary, it's all yours.
Thank you. Dear God, we thank you for an opportunity to be here tonight. You teach us in your word that we are to pray for our government officials. And so tonight it's a double honor to pray for them and with them. And I want to thank you, first of all, for the desire that they have to serve the people of Leon County. And I want to thank you also for the dedication that they give to fulfilling that great desire in their lives. And I pray that they know that that desire was born from you, and you put it there, and you will give them everything they need to accomplish their dreams and goals and ambitions as servants of our community. Also pray that you will give them the courage of their convictions and the wisdom to know that convictions and compromise sometimes make very good partners. And I also just pray tonight that as they serve the people, they realize that through serving people, they are serving you. And there's no greater honor than that. So help them to serve tonight to the very best of their ability. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let us recite together the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Linton. We appreciate that special word of invocation. As we proceed, we want first commissioners to recognize that Commissioner Jimbo Jackson is with us telephonically, and I believe that we need a motion that we might add him as a voting member.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, hearing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. It passes unanimously. Good afternoon, and we welcome you, Commissioner Jackson. And I'm sure that there will be indication for you when you desire to weigh in. I think that Vince will know some way that you're desiring to do so. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We're excited. Mr. Vice Chairman, there's some things that are about to occur. You want to tell us a little bit about, introduce that as well?
Thank you. I'm be heading down to present a proclamation to our very own state 3A championship basketball team of Florida High with their coach, Charlie Ward, and the rest of his staff. I'm so proud to be able to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair, as I head down.
All right. Coach Ward and your team and representative, you all would please come meet the Vice Chair there at the rostrum.
Thank you. All right. I got to watch this man play football when I was a little boy, so it's pretty special to get to present a proclamation to him. And that guy over there used to torture me about 3 or 4 years ago. So, yeah. Whereas Florida High has a tradition of both academic and athletic excellence, including championships in both boys and girls basketball. And whereas the school's last state championship title in basketball was earned in 1963 under the head coach of Bob Albertson, and whereas in 2018, Charlie Ward, who played both basketball and football for Florida State University, where he received the Heisman Trophy and went on to play professional basketball in the NBA, became the head coach of Florida High School's boys basketball team. And whereas outside of a legendary sports career, Coach Ward and his wife Tanja consistently gives back to the community, more prominently through the Charlie and Tanja Ward Family Foundation, an organization committed to community service projects and philanthropic causes related to Christian youth development, youth sports, and disaster relief efforts. And let me add that this man is quite the Fred Astaire on the dance floor. I had an opportunity to watch him dance last year. He picks it up pretty quickly. Whereas under Coach Ward's guidance, the Florida High School Seminoles honed their skills and cemented their teamwork during the 2021-2022 basketball season, earning their way into the Florida Class 3A State Basketball Championship. And whereas the Seminoles defeated Miami Riviera Prep 67-66, exciting game, I tell you, in an exciting and well-played championship game. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners in Leon County, Florida, that Coach Ward and the Florida High Seminoles be recognized and celebrated for their victory and sportsmanship in the 2022 Florida Class 3A Boys State Basketball Championship, and for Coach Ward's extraordinary example and service to the community and youth everywhere. This is signed by the chairman, myself, the rest of the commission, and tested to by the county administrator. Congratulations, Coach.
Very good.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for this recognition. On behalf of our administration, I have our athletic director, Anthony Robinson, and one of our coaches, strength and conditioning coach, O'Neill Brown. We appreciate this recognition, and our work this year, this past season, was one that we will all be remembered by, and I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to be able to share this proclamation with the rest of our team. Thank you again.
Very, very good. Coach, Coach Ward, before you leave out there, y'all save a little room for me to take a photo with the coach now. I want to get down there, but I just want to say that Coach Ward, I'm a FAMU High baby rattler, and you need to know that that man standing by you, Coach Robinson, is a baby rattler. Yes. And I knew it was some good, with Florida. I just couldn't figure. Now I get it. It comes together in this picture today. And that his aunt, LaVanna Faye, was my classmate. We graduated from FAMU High. And we're very, very proud of Florida High. You all have carried a great program forward over the last several years, and the maturation of both the girls and the boys teams being very competitive. I think, I can't remember, but I believe it was one of the safeties that went to University of Alabama and tackled our quarterback at Florida State and knocked him out. But that was a Florida High. So they're playing at a very high level. And we have much love and respect for what's occurring. Any other commissioners desire to say anything in Florida? I want to take this photo off. They want me in this picture.
Any other commissioners want to speak? Thank you, Coach. While the chairman is taking the picture, I'll go ahead and introduce the next item. After he finishes his photo, yes.
We can go to Eldercare next.
Eldercare. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we'll be giving a presentation by Eldercare Services, Inc. Their representative can come on up. There'll be a slight change in the agenda, commissioners. We'll go to that, and then after that, we'll do the proclamation for Bike Month. Mr. Administrator, is that correct? Okay.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
No, sir. Next, we're going to do the Eldercare presentation, and then we're going to come to the Bike Month proclamation, Mr. Chair.
We're really excited, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Leon County. Eldercare services do just an extraordinary job. It was indeed our desire to bring forward a recognition to what they do for all of us. And it's in the spirit of our, in particular during COVID, that you stood tall, stood out, and Rachel, I'm going to ask if Commissioner Dozier, could you read it? I don't have my glasses, and I don't want to default on any of these big old words in here. And I'm going to ask if one of my fellow commissioners will.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. It's just a presentation by Eldercare, the proclamations for Bike Week. So we'll do that next. But I'm glad. But I'll tell you what, one of mine really is bad. Yeah.
Okay. I would never publicly disagree with the chairman, but this is a whereas Eldercare Services.
Oh, it does? Well, blame them. It's their fault.
I'm going to leave it here.
Go for it. Okay.
Rachel, do I have some glasses?
Vincent, it does say Eldercare.
Some glasses.
Don't you ever dispute the chairman like that again, sir. All right. Whereas Eldercare Services, Inc. was founded in Tallahassee, Florida in 1970 by community leaders in the Senior Services Planning Council, following a survey on the specific needs and concerns facing seniors in our area. And whereas for over 50 years, Eldercare Services has supported seniors aging in their homes and provided caregivers the respite and resources they need to aid their loved ones in aging in place. And whereas Eldercare Services model of 5 integrated programs: senior outreach services, in-home and community-based services, nutrition services, elder day stay, and senior volunteer program, collaborating together delivers comprehensive services for seniors in all phases of aging. And whereas elder care programs are centered on the idea that one should enjoy comfort and engagement while aging. And whereas nearly a quarter of seniors in Leon County live alone and are at high risk for social isolation, Eldercare Services programs focuses on supporting the social, emotional health of seniors in addition to the physical health. And whereas seniors are a special subset of the food insecure and vulnerable population due to the isolation often associated with retirement and homebound health conditions. And in response to this unique need, Eldercare Services takes programs directly to their homes. And whereas seniors are the fastest growing population demographic in Leon County, and whereas during the 2022 Older Americans Month, Eldercare Services is highlighting the importance of our senior population and the vital services that are necessary to support aging in place. Now, we, the Leon County Board of County Commissioners, do honor Eldercare Services, Inc., dated the 10th day of May 2022, signed by the chair, myself, the rest of the commissioners, and attested to by the wrongly speaking county administrator. Congratulations.
Yeah, come on.
Ms. Flagler, I'm so sorry that the vice chairman insisted on taking a photo with you all. You were doing really outstanding all along. But nevertheless, we certainly invite you now to a presentation overview for our community, this board, others who would benefit from your services. Thank you. We certainly appreciate your coming today at our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a passion of mine. I am lucky enough to be the CEO of Eldercare Services. My name is Jocelyn. I could talk to you for hours about senior care, but I will try to keep it brief. But
well,
you are welcome to the
Mr. Long is really listening with wide open ears on that senior care.
This is our building. We're in the 32304 area code. We have a beautiful community garden in the back of this property that has been funded through a grant from the county. We provide fresh vegetables and herbs to our senior clients. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for seniors and their caregivers in the Big Bend. And we started in 1970. We've been doing this for 52 years. We have 5 main programs, but a bunch of programs underneath that. I've tried to put some photos of real people that we've interacted with in this presentation. This is Grandma Gee, who at age 80 came to us looking for a volunteer position. She mentored and tutored at-risk students in Gadsden County for 20 years until she turned 100, and we threw her a birthday party and she took some well-earned time to herself. We have 2 main tenets of care. We want to help people stay in their homes. People are happier, they're healthier, they live longer if they're able to age in place, age in their own homes. We're also looking to combat social isolation. There's fantastic studies about social isolation. One that I think is the most provocative is that social isolation is as bad for your physical health as smoking. And so that is a huge issue and something that we really take attention to. Studies show that people with weaker social connections actually have a greater mortality rate, and that brain-body connection, it's all connected. So if we're able to keep people socially connected, we can help them stay out of the hospital, we can help them have better physical health outcomes. We serve people 60 and older, majority women, majority Black. That goes to the population that we see, but also the structural inequities that we also see in our senior population. And as mentioned before, seniors are a huge growing population in our county, in our state, and in our country.
Could you go back, please, to the
Yes, sir.
previous slide?
This one?
No, the other one.
This one.
Yes. On the age breakdown, the majority of y'all's services is parameters of 55 to 80 plus. Could you talk a little bit more about that age population?
Yes, I could talk all day about it. It's very interesting to me that we group people 55 to say 100, like Grandma Gee, all together, right? Nowhere else in the lifespan do we look at like 50 years and say, oh, they all have the same needs. So we really look at the spectrum of seniors. People that might be a bit younger or have less health complications, we provide them volunteer opportunities. People that are bedbound or maybe older, we go into their homes, give them baths, do some light housekeeping, provide them companionship. So even though that's a huge age range, we really look at every stage of aging and try to address all of those issues or situations that might come under that.
Okay, very good.
We're best known for Meals on Wheels. We call it our flagship program. This year is our 50th year of delivering Meals on Wheels. We do it every single weekday. A hot, fresh meal goes out. We have an industrial kitchen. We serve over 250 people every single day. We use volunteers to get those meals out. Right after Hurricane Michael, everybody was right back. Those seniors were in ponchos. We were ready to go. Not only are we addressing nutrition and food insecurity, that's a daily way for us to keep track of our clients and provide that social interaction. Our volunteers might be the only person that client sees all day long, and so it's really important that we lay eyes on them and give them that interaction. We also have meals at congregate sites like Smith Williams Service Center, at Bethel Community, at Casa Calderon, so different aging communities and residential facilities. We also have a program, Senior Outreach Services. This is kind of like our main entry into the agency. We have an emergency food pantry. We have somebody that will actually talk to you on the phone. It's not like a press this for that. We have somebody, Linda, that will talk to you. We distribute food. We get walkers and wheelchairs and bedside commodes in. We clean them. We give them right back out for free. So if you think about a senior that might be living on maybe $800 a month, that's so low. And I don't know how a lot of people do that, but we see that every day when we look at people's Social Security checks. To have to pay for a walker would be something that many people might not be able to do.
Mrs. Flagger, in terms of the referral, can county commissioners, we get calls for various things. How would we convey to your office, and would you take names and people we think need help? How would you advise commissioners who receive these kinds of inquiries what to do?
Send them to us. I would be more than happy to help them and take care of that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. This is another one of our clients. I always like to tease when I do these presentations at like FSU or FAMU. This is called a phone, but this client received some durable medical goods from us, a microwave, and with those small interventions, he was able to continue living in his apartment. We also provide in-home services. We're the only nonprofit in town that does this. Companionship, senior counseling, homemaking, respite for caregivers. There's many studies done that say that caregivers actually pass away before the person that they're caregiving for. It's called second patient syndrome. And so a lot of our services not only help the person, the client, but helps those around them to make sure that they have that support. We also have a transportation program where it's volunteers taking other seniors out. They drive them to the grocery store, to the doctor. They help them, pick up prescriptions. So they're picking them up at the doorstep. They're giving them a ride. They're helping them grocery shop. It's really a wonderful synergy. We have our senior volunteer programs. We are the proud grantees of AmeriCorps Seniors programs since 1991. This is Linda that I mentioned before, and this is one of our grandmas with the girls that she's assigned and how they're going over their homework there. But we really look to our senior volunteers to not only fulfill community needs, but to make sure that those seniors stay active and healthy and purposeful. And then Elder Day Stay. We are in the Lake Ella Public Shopping Center. This is a wonderful facility, and right now we're the only one on the county where we can take in folks that might need some extra supervision during the day. That could be dementia, that could be a fall risk. We even had a senior that was in a car accident and confined to a wheelchair that came with us. You can see on the bottom some art that they've done. We do pet therapy, music therapy, movement therapy. We really do it all there, and you're always welcome to stop in and take a look at what we're up to. We are structured very much like every other nonprofit. I have a board of directors that I answer to. We employ a lot of social workers, many of them holding degrees from our three local universities, and we're very proud that not only do we provide this care, but we do it in a very professional way and an evidence-based way. Our eligibility is needs-based. It is not first come, first serve. We really look at who's in crisis the most, but we are always having a wait list. During the pandemic, we were able to pivot and help more people. We had federal, state, and local money that kind of boosted us up. We cleared our Meals on Wheels waiting list. That funding has gone back to pre-COVID times. However, I am looking to expand our kitchen services to take on even more Meals on Wheels clients so we can break down that waiting list. This is another one of our clients. She's wonderful. She was actually caregiving for another senior that was bedbound, and she was given a fan so she can help cool her home without getting a huge utility bill. We do very well with the money that we are given. We spend a very small amount on administration and development. Most of our money goes right back to program services, and we are very proud that we always keep our clients on the main forefront. And then at the bottom, this is another picture of one of our clients with our director of Elder Day Stay and our logo for celebrating 50 years. And this is our 50th year of Meals on Wheels as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Very good, Ms. Flagler. We thank you so very much for sharing with our community the reach of which you all provide. Commissioners, are there any inquiries that you may have? Commissioner Cummings, and followed by Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much, Ms. Flagler, for that presentation, and I just want to personally express my appreciation to you and Eldercare Services. I know individuals that you all have assisted, relatives, friends. You do a great job, and I just want to say thank you for your dedication and for all the services that you do for our seniors who would otherwise lack many needed services, but for Eldercare Services. So thank you and congratulations on 50 years of great service to our county, to our community.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Dozier, Welch, and Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on 50 years, and thank you for being here today. I'm tripping over Ms. Flagler. I'm going to be, consistent here with a little more formality in the chambers, but I do have to say that I am so grateful to have spent a morning with you and Mr. Henderson, your VP, Director of Food Services, correct? Doing a Meals on Wheels route. And to spend that time with the both of you and hearing seeing firsthand how you're interacting with everyone was really impressive, not surprising at all. But two things stood out that were kind of outside of what your presentation was, and I just wanted to ask you about them and maybe highlight them. You mentioned how, and I want to put this in the category of social entrepreneurship perhaps, that you found a way to support schools and to benefit Eldercare, correct?
Yes.
And we got into that conversation, so I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit. But as part of what Mr. Henderson was saying about how long people have stayed employed at Eldercare, that you have a group, particularly with the folks that work with him, the food service, that have been there for decades. And that is significant when we have people who see the mission and care about the organization. And I just wanted to compliment you for that. It's really, that's something we don't highlight as much. And you do it very professionally. So, but back to that social entrepreneurism, I just wanted to give you a moment to talk about that because I think those synergies are so important and we need to hear the innovative ideas that nonprofits have.
Thank you so much for reminding me about that. The rate that we're reimbursed per meal from the state does not cover our costs. And so to bridge that gap, to subsidize our meals, we provide daycare meals to different childcare facilities. The great thing about that, it comes hot to them, we deliver it to them, but it's also approved by a nutritionist. We have a dietitian that approves all of our menus because the state approves the menus. So in fact, my daughter at one point was receiving those meals. She went to FSU's childcare and she loves the beefaroni. She still talks about it. So it is something that we do for entrepreneurship, but also so we can make sure that we are helping more people in the community.
I thank you very much, Josie. I just love the synergy of that program, helping our older folks in the community, but also the youngest ones, and by that way, supporting and helping provide more meals. So it's great. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Commissioner Welch, then Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Flagler, I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. I had the opportunity recently to tour the facility for the second time. I had actually delivered Meals on Wheels when I was in Leadership Tallahassee. Very impactful and profound experience. So I think that what you guys do at Eldercare Services is vital and important to the community, and you do it really well. And I just want to say thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Flagler, just again, repeating, just wanted to thank you and your team. You do excellent work. I think many of us, have already talked about going on a Meals on Wheels route. When we went, it was pouring down rain. It was torrential. But that highlighted the fact that you all do your work rain or shine. People need meals throughout this community on a daily basis. So, you weren't deterred. And then I also just want to point out to folks that not only is Meals on Wheels important for delivering a meal to a senior who needs it, but it also is an important aspect in terms of doing wellness checks on folks. And then in addition to that, even it's in many cases for some of our seniors in this community, it's connecting on a human level with someone that may not have any other interaction with a human that day. And so it's more important than just simply delivering meals, is delivering that wellness check and the human connection that is so important. I think as important as the meal itself. So just really complimentary of everything that you and your team do. Excellent, tremendous work. You've got a lot of volunteers in this community that help. I know that. And so they see what you do every day. But it's good for us to go out from time to time and do a route ourselves. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Jackson, Eldercare is situated in the 32304 zip code, which we share. As commissioners, is there any word that you desire to offer? Commissioner Jackson? Okay. Well, thank you so very much again for sharing, enlightening us. And I am a little bit jealous because my colleagues have been in there and know all about, and I need to come out and catch up. Thank you so much, Ms. Flagler. All right, commissioners, we're moving right along. Mr. Vince Long, is there any information that you desire for? Oops, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Commissioner Minor, thank you. If you would now share the National Bike resolution. I was looking for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. And, I'm a few years behind you, so I think after a few more years, I'm going to need glasses as well as be able to read this. But
You got it.
very happy to present the proclamation today in celebration of National Bike Month. Do you guys want to join? All right. Whereas, for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans. And whereas today millions of Americans engage in bicycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of fitness and as quality family recreation, and whereas the education of residents on the proper and safe operation of bicycles and motor vehicles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all users, whereas various cycling organizations and independent cyclists throughout our community are promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce collisions, injuries, and fatalities. And whereas BikeTallahassee.com provides a host of information to help riders plan routes and cycle safely. And whereas in 2020, the Tallahassee-Leon County Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan was adopted by the Capital Regional Transportation Planning Agency, there's a lot of agencies and acronyms there, the board to guide bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure development in the county. And whereas the Blueprint Intergovernmental Agency Build the Bike Route System Project provides funding to implement projects from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, allowing for increased bicycle infrastructure improvements in the Tallahassee-Leon County community. Now, therefore, the chairman, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Leon County, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 be known as Bike Month in Leon County. And the board further encourages all residents to recognize the importance of bicycle safety and be more aware of cyclists on our streets and roadways. Thank you very much.
Very good. Just curious, as Bike Week, does that include like motorcycles or that just like bicycles?
No motorcycles. But that's on Daytona.
It's just the kind
No,
of.
this is, bicycling.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to thank the commission, the city and county commission, for all the work they've done for bike infrastructures in the city and county. It's critical to, making a vibrant community and making a place that people want to move to, and, providing alternatives for transportation and making a place where, as the city grows and the county grows, that, the infrastructure and the density of the city, that'll be critical to have the infrastructure here and just for the well-being and health and transportation alternatives and accessibility for people. And thank you.
Very good. We thank you all so much for coming. We turn now to our county administrator for a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have, as we do each year, we have Kevin Peters, our Director of Emergency Management, to provide a very important overview of the 2022 hurricane season. Kevin, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having us this afternoon. We are 21 days from the start of hurricane season. Hurricane season begins on June 1st and will run through November 30th. Initial indications are we are looking at another above average hurricane season. The initial forecasts look as if we're going to have La Nina conditions, which simplified are going to be kind of warmer conditions in the Gulf of Mexico, Southeast United States, and the Western Atlantic, and a lack of wind shear, which would be heavier winds that kind of come off the Pacific through Central America that would blow into the Atlantic. So that would leave a condition where storms that form in the Atlantic have a better path to move to the Western Atlantic. While it's too early to say where any of the storms may go, we do know that some of our busiest months are August, September, and October. So the heart of summertime is when we could really expect to see activity. Currently, the forecast out of Colorado State University is for 19 named storms. Of those, 9 of those could become hurricanes, and of those, 4 of those could become major hurricanes. Our seasonal average is for 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. For a point of reference, last year, the Atlantic saw 21 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. Fortunately, Leon County was spared from any major impacts. Now, last year, the last 2 years, COVID was front and center, got a lot of attention, and as it should. But just want to make sure everybody knows that we were very focused on staying prepared for hurricane season, and that continues this year. We have begun our training cycle again, working with our county staff and our partners through all of the functions that county staff tend to during a hurricane response, from sheltering to damage assessment, supply distribution, comfort stations, staffing the Citizens Information Line, and completing our FEMA National Incident Management System training courses. Now, we've had some experiences with back-to-back storm situations, but Louisiana takes the cake over the last few years. From 2019 to 2021, the state of Louisiana experienced 5 hurricanes, 4 tropical storms, and 1 tropical depression. All of that across 400 miles of coastline on the Gulf of Mexico. So their experiences with back-to-back are quite extreme. And we've been looking at lessons learned from the emergency managers in the Louisiana parishes and the state of Louisiana emergency management. And through some of the workshops that we've attended, both virtually and in person, the three of the lessons really jump out from Louisiana. And they're actually things that we found to be true after our experiences with hurricanes. The first one is teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. When you face that many storms back-to-back in one season, it takes everyone working together, from local to state to federal government, as well as our nonprofit organizations like Eldercare working together to make life better for our citizens. An example of that here in Leon County was the moving of emergency back under county administration to put us at more of the center of that local teamwork that we build here in Leon County. Another lesson learned were the highly detailed emergency plans that the parishes in Louisiana had pre-landfall. Were good for the first storm, but as second, third, and even fourth storms hit in some of those areas, the details kind of were not as important, and it became more strategic guidance that was important, and focusing more on what had to be done versus the when or how to do things. And that's where that FEMA National Incident Management System training comes into play. A very key important of that we teach our responders and our partners is the operational planning cycle, to take what's going on in the now and meeting the needs now, to take those strategic options from our county emergency management plan and apply them in an operational method. And finally, the last lesson we've heard from Louisiana is about communications, and this works 2 ways. As these storms come across the Gulf of Mexico, the forecasts change every few hours and they can change day to day. Communicating with the public to ensure they don't anchor on that very first message, that they're always paying attention to the changes in forecast. We've seen some of these storms, like I believe it was Ida, that had rapid intensification. It went from nothing very significant to Category 4 in a matter of hours. Paying attention to the communications is very important to stay safe. Additionally, when you have multiple storms hitting your community, making sure you're communicating the changes in the way you deliver services, because how things happen after the very first storm may be different the next storm or the third storm in a season. So making sure you're communicating with the public to make sure they understand what's happening this time, that it may not always be the same as the last time, is the other lesson that we've picked up from our colleagues in Louisiana. And communications are so important. That's the other part of our presentation. I'm going to turn the remainder over to Kiana Gilly, our public information manager, for some discussion about our public information and our communication methods for preparedness and response.
Thank you, Kevin. I will just take a few minutes to highlight some of the county's ongoing efforts to inform and engage our community for the upcoming season. With the busy hurricane season ahead, disaster preparedness education is vital to building and maintaining a resilient community, especially during the blue sky times when we aren't in the infamous 5-day air cone. I'm excited to share just a few reoccurring programs along with several new projects that we've developed in partnership with emergency management. As you know, commissioners, we will again be distributing the county's printed disaster survival guide in every way you can imagine, inserted in the Tallahassee Democrat, Capitol Outlook, across county and city facilities, nonprofit and faith-based partners, and street teams. The guide remains one of our most year-round tools to address not only weather-based disasters, but disasters of all sorts, man-made, viral, and beyond. On June 1st at the Public Safety Complex, Leon County will host the 2022 Hurricane Season Kickoff Press Conference to announce the upcoming hurricane season, the launch of the 2022 Disaster Survival Guide, and to reemphasize the importance of hurricane preparedness. The 2022 Disaster Preparedness Sales Tax Holiday will be held from May 28th to June 10th this year. During this time, we'll be partnering with local businesses to spread awareness of the sales tax holiday and distribute disaster survival guides. In June, Leon County will be bringing back the nationally recognized Citizen Engagement Series at the Public Safety Complex, which is a community event that focuses on building community preparedness and resilience to withstand man-made and natural disasters. The event will feature various interactive programs, including disaster preparedness, emergency communication, and the importance of having an evacuation plan. During the pandemic, we moved Build Your Bucket online, which is where it has lived for several years and has been very effective in reaching our community. But in addition to that program, we've launched Leon Ready, a neighborhood disaster preparedness training program that provides neighborhoods with the tools and resources that they need to prepare, act, and recover. The training will include pre-made disaster buckets, and neighborhood representatives from across the county can sign up for the training at leoncountyfl.com/neighborhood services. And as you know, at the county, we take bucket preparedness very seriously, seriously enough to create a Billy the Bucket mascot for emergency management. So to ensure that we are empowering our youth to be confident in case of a disaster, we've also developed the Billy the Bucket Hurricane Safety Coloring Book, which allows children to work with their families to develop a family communications plan, prepare the house in case of a disaster, and check their emergency kit. Billy has also inspired his own Avengers-like team with the public safety defenders, bringing the mascots from various Tallahassee, Leon County public safety agencies together to educate youth on emergency preparedness and the many agencies in the community that are here to protect them and their families. They even have their own trading cards that are available with each agencies that kids can collect as they go to those separate agencies and learn about the duties and responsibilities of those agencies. So as we enter the upcoming season, we will continue to leverage every public information outlet from radio to television to social media to ensure that our community remains one of the most informed and resilient communities in the state of Florida. Thank you. And Kevin and I are here for questions.
Okay, Mr. Long. Commissioners, we heard that report. Are there any questions or anything from our staff persons about the storm? Commissioner Dozier?
Mr. Chair, I guess feel like we should note here that a busy hurricane season might be less busy than you all have been for the last 2 years. And that's kind of saying something, because this is the point, the presentation, Kevin, both fantastic. Thank you for all of what you're doing, everything else. But after nearly 2 years of updates and focus on the pandemic, it is significant to get back to just a hurricane update. And that's by no means just a hurricane update, but want to thank you for all of your work. We know you're ready to go. And Ms. County Administrator, I think this may be for you, but also for Kevin. We're already seeing the round of storms come up. I mean, there was 2 very minor tornadoes I heard reported on the news this morning that came up in the line of storms just this last weekend. We've seen a lot of rain recently, so we're always focused on the big storms, but we are also preparing, as always, for those pop-up storms, for flooding, for other things. You've already had at least one day with sandbags, so can we just add that into the mix here that ongoing, we also are providing those services, correct?
That's correct.
There wasn't really a question, I guess, other than just bringing that into the discussion. If there was anything else we needed to add about that, but yeah.
If you'd like, and the chairman just asked me just a moment ago, and this would be a good time in terms of our overall preparation. You've heard it from Kevin and Kiana. You'll recall, commissioners, that just a couple of years ago, FEMA named Leon County the first hurricane-strong community in the country, and that's more than just a designation or an award. It goes to the year-round efforts that you heard Kevin and Kiana talk about. We do take it, and I think Kiana said it, hurricane season extraordinarily seriously. And so, yes, we're ready. The year-round communication efforts are in place and are in full swing, I should say now. The year-round tabletop exercises with all of our partners who become activated during the period of time. Of course, Kevin does that again on a year-round basis, and we're ready. After tonight, you all will have executed, I believe, the last of all of our contracts that we'll need to have in place prior to the storm. And of course, as you noted, we hope that Andy Johnson doesn't have to do another after-action report. He's done more than I think anyone in the state of Florida over the past several years. But those after-action reports are critically important. And, I humbly think we do those better than anyone. There's usually dozens and dozens of actionable items that we get from each of those after-action reports because we all know that every storm is different and they all expose different vulnerabilities and reveal different improvements, again, that we put in place for the next hurricane season. And we've done that systematically over a really long period of time. So, yes, under Matt Cavell's and Kevin's leadership, we are in really good shape, and we're hoping for as quiet a season as possible, but we're ready for whatever comes our way.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Dozier, other commissioners. We certainly have noted, as Commissioner Dozier has pointed out, that COVID has been its own state of emergency in our community for the last few months. And our staff has proven again and again of its capacity to coordinate all the various units and elements that who are constituent parts of our emergency response, and we thank you. We feel ourselves no less capable this year, 2022, than any prior year. So I'm quite confident. And just for the record, with our two new commissioners, Mr. Administrator, are you the county attorney to advise our public as well as to school, our new commissioners with respect to the process of the declaration of emergency when we feel the threat of emergency? What and how do we actually engage as a county that process?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as a result of some legislation that passed in the 2021 session, we did modify the Code of Ordinances to break out the states of emergency versus declarations. We now call them different things to differentiate between emergencies caused by storm-related events, like those talked about by Kevin and our communications folks just a few moments ago, and any emergencies related to a pandemic or other types of health-related emergencies. Practically speaking, this board and the public will not see any difference going forward if and when we have to issue those states of emergency for a weather-related event. So I was actually talking with Kevin before the meeting started to go ahead and refresh our recollection and get on the same page about what those will look like in the coming months if we have to issue a state of emergency for a weather-related event. But we're in good hands. We're in good shape.
Very good. All right. We thank you, Vince, for bringing this to our awareness. It is timely as the season cranks up, I believe, in June. So we're very, very, this is almost half the year that we're in hurricane season. And we're a state that, being on peninsula, we're subject to get attacked from Atlantic or to receive from the western side of the state from the Gulf of Mexico. So we're always open to peril with respect to these storms. Those things being said, we thank you now. Mr. Administrator, where are we?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two speakers under citizens to be heard on consent or non-agended items. And those speakers are first Stanley Sims on item number 12, to be followed by Jeremy Block on item number 16.
Mr. Sims, good afternoon. Boom shakalaka, I beat you to it.
How you doing?
State your name.
My name is Stanley Sims. I'm the unelected official at large out on 1320 Avondale Way. And I'm here. I just want to do a special plug for elderly services. They do a tremendous job. Haven't started, always have. But this is the first time that I've ever seen in a report that they elevate the number of minorities that they serve and their level of participation in that program. And one of my reasons for standing, Mr. Chairman, on this waste contract, in my particular neighborhood, I've got an old lady gang too, and they wanted me to bring this up to you. In those contracts, waste wants us to pretty much cut the waste, measure it, lay it down, rinse it off so it's beautiful and clean when they pick it up. That's just a little bit too much. And they will put a note on your trash if one of your sticks is beyond 6 feet, and if it's 6.5 and the rest of them are 4, they'll leave the whole pile. And what my old lady gang is telling me, and I didn't even know this here, Commissioner Dozier, that we have our particular subdivision is contracted by 2 different ones. The city takes one section, and then Waste Pro takes another section. So some of my walkers on the side that Waste Management pick up, they have different rules and regulations than some of my walkers that live in my section. But they all walk. I know it's crazy because that's what I didn't believe them. So on my street, on Avondale Way, I have the private pickup. But right up above me on Devonshaw is the city's pickup. And that they come to that section and they stop and they back up. Now that's trash. And I mean, like your leaves and things of that nature. And in our neighborhood, we are having a lot of them little letters where they say your sticks are too long or your trash too dirty. Whoever heard of trash being too dirty to pick up? I ain't never heard of nothing like that. But it's real stringent. So we need to look at those conditions in which that we require citizens to be eligible for trash pickup. And we shouldn't have to call and tell you to do it if you're making a route. That's one of the complaints too, that if you're making a route, they put trash out there, they say, well, did you call us? Well, if you're coming regular, it should not have to be a request. They're saying that they're requiring a little bit too much of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Baby Rattler. Our next speaker. Yep.
The next speaker, Jeremy Block, on item number 16.
Ms. Block, welcome. State your name and address.
Jeremy Block, 1109 East 6th Avenue, and that's where my story begins. East 6th Avenue, where I live, is 2.5 blocks from TMH. And when I moved there 7 years ago, I used to hear a lot of ambulances pass. And I used to think to myself, gee, if that's a guy with a heart attack, I hope he does well. And here I am, 6 or 7 years later, the ambulances are still going by. The only difference is, what comes to mind is, where was that shooting at? And that's an extraordinary place to be. Extraordinary. So what I wanted to get into was, the county submitted a recommendation over the last month to the commission about a gun buyback program. And I believe I take a different take on that gun buyback program report, in that it seems to have been looking for empirical evidence that gun buyback programs don't work. They're not realistic. There's lots of, statistics and ancillary reports that say it doesn't work. Well, I would like the commission to take a more proactive approach and use the opportunity to check with Florida cities instead of Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee, that was cited in the staff report. I think it's more appropriate to look at apples and apples than apples and oranges. And there were 2 gun buyback programs that I mentioned 3 months ago when I first brought this up, and that was in Gainesville and Boynton Beach, Florida. I almost said California. Goodness. So they were successful. Not overly successful, but it worked. And I had an opportunity last month to call the Gainesville Police Department. I talked with the public service officer, and as it happened, she was instrumental in setting up their gun buyback program. She had some very valuable tips to give me for when we are able to do the same thing. And that was exciting to receive. And I'm very anxious to work with Sheriff McNeil if this comes to fruition, because some of those little hints and recommendations are very salient to what's going on. The other point is that the county commission needs to be more proactive, and you can do so by this public relations move. This is a PR move for your constituents to show that there's actively something going on to reduce gun violence. I hope it works out great, but if it doesn't, the PR component is still there. And to me, that's exciting. So I would like to see this move forward, and I'm willing to help Sheriff McNeil, whom I spoke to about it, and you know, we got to do something. We got to use all the tools in our toolbox, and I think we aren't as yet. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Any other speakers at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our speakers on consent.
Okay. Commissioners, we turn now to the agenda before us. Is there a motion for adoption of consent? We have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of consent, please say aye. It passes unanimously. Brings us now to our general business. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 18, Commissioners, is on the Lake Hall Schoolhouse. This item comes at your most recent direction on this item to evaluate if owners of property upon which the schoolhouse is located and that needed to provide access to the school would be willing to sell. This, of course, Commissioners, follows significant previous analysis requested by the board, including the use of eminent domain to acquire these properties for the preservation of school, as well as other options that you've sought information for in the past. Obviously, this is an issue that the board's been very interested in, and again, I think we've done, fairly considerable due diligence on. The item before you contains the most recent information requested by the board, and in summary, the owners of the 3 parcels would be willing to sell all or a portion of their properties. The total for that would be, as included in your agenda materials and in the analysis, $866,000. Unlike most land acquisitions the county would consider, the owners of these properties indicate that they are not willing to sell contingent on appraisals. They're asking what they're asking for their properties. This $866,000, Commissioners, represents just the amount required to obtain these properties and not operation, maintenance, or infrastructure costs. As we've said before, it's all presented in your materials, but we have to provide all of that, all of which would be an estimated $3.3 million. Of course, this could be offset by grant funding, as has been suggested by the Friends of the Lake Hall School. Commissioners, there is currently no funding in the current budget for this purpose. Absent board direction to allocate these dollars in the current year, to allocate these dollars from general fund contingency, which would exhaust the general fund contingency, and would in addition require a sweep of other fund balances, as it is a significant unbudgeted mid-year capital expenditure. Should the board wish to consider this as part of your upcoming budget, then the board certainly can direct such an item be brought back as a budget discussion item. In some, Commissioners, the board has thoroughly considered this item and the available options available to you at this time. This is a complicated acquisition with multiple private property purchases required. Of course, it's a significant mid-year unbudgeted expense. In projects like these, you typically have, or we would typically have someone like the Trust for Public Lands or someone else who has gone in and assembled the deal, if you will, and perhaps is looking for a county match. that would be a much simpler proposition than that which is before you. However, all of the analysis is before you, Commissioners. As I've said, I know you've considered this item from several different angles on several different occasions. We are happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of the analysis. And of course, we seek your direction on this item. And we have about 4 or 5 speakers.
Okay, Commissioners, I desire to hear from our speakers first, and then I'd like to hear next on this roster from the district's commissioner, his thoughts and his sharing with us. Dr. C, I imagine we have her signing up. We have this document coming from her with respect to her thoughts on an item which may have referenced previous meeting, but we do have her rebutting what staff has placed before. So Dr. C, I'd like very much to hear you first. And then, of course, you've gotten this document from our county administrator, which is a counter refute of comments by Dr. C. So let's get to the heart of it. Dr. C, state your name, address, and we hear from you.
Geraldine C., 2014 Chuli meeting. When we started this, all of you received the grand plan, which included quite a bit more land and land usage. And as we move through the process, and I want to take a minute to thank Mr. Andy Johnson back here, who I've probably spoken to once a week for the past 3 years, right? He's always been very pleasant, and it's been very comforting to know that he'll take my calls. So we've now come to the point where we want to just save the school. Now, there are various ways to do that. Most of you have been at the property, so that you know that the 3 properties that the administrator is referring to includes 2 homes and then the school's footprint. One of those homes is on Thomasville Road proper, and the other school is on Handsome Quarters, which is behind the school. We know that the school sits on 2 properties. I'm not quite sure how that lot line got there, but it certainly got there after the school was built. The school was built in 1870, so the lot line came after. So that whole confusion about it sitting on 2 lots is something that the county has put in place. I don't know all of the details behind that, but we're left with trying to figure it out. And you know, as I know, that 187 square feet belongs to one property and the rest belongs to the other. And you know that the 187 square feet, the gentleman wants $50,000 for that. We know that the house that holds most of the school, those owners want $350,000. So we know that all of those prices are not in keeping with, well, some people think it's an okay price because property has gone up, but the home that I'm referring to doesn't appraise for $350,000. So we already know that we're moving into a different arena, and people are looking at ways to make money.
Ms. Say, Dr. Say, I want to say that
yes.
I purposely not placed a timer on you because of the amount of energies that you all have been shown. So I've taken chairman's prerogative.
Thank you.
But what we have is a $3.3 million proposition before us. I need you to help us to understand why.
Well,
why should we put $3.3 million a piece of property? Secondly, you have said that our numbers are incorrect. Point us to that. We know all of the narrative that you're bringing us to, but we want to make a decision today.
All right.
And I want your best, strongest, clearest argument on why this board should support what you're talking about, and what is your bottom line on money.
The school's been sitting there for 154 years, and it's an example of the agency of free slaves. It's the only thing that we have that shows the agency of a free people 5 years out of slavery. We have nothing else. That's evidence of their willingness and belief and their hope that they can make sure their children can do better than they did. That's what the school represents. It represents hope. I keep telling that to people because we have to think that those ancestors felt as if they could make a difference in their children's lives by putting a school in place. Not that they owned the land, they owned their homes, they owned the neighborhood. Things turned by 1890, but the school was still there for their children. And that's something that we have to honor. We should honor. We should hold up and make sure that people understand the tenacity of a free people.
Okay, very good.
Now, as far as the money is concerned, I'm looking at two different scenarios as far as property is concerned. My thinking was that you might buy the cheaper home that gets most of the school and do eminent domain on the rest, the 186 square.
All right, hold it right there.
Okay.
You understand what she just said, County Administrator? We had 3.3 million. How much would it cost us, the eminent domain, and then purchase, what she said, the one home, and then eminent domain, the rest of it? We're trying to find a solution forward this night. I don't want to see this no more. This don't need to come back. We done chewed on this here long enough, and get us to a bottom line so we can put this to rest.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the item is very clear. It doesn't mean it's simple by any means, but it's very clear. In order to follow your previous direction, which was to not exercise eminent domain, but to seek if these properties would be available for a voluntary purchase, it would cost $866,000. If, again, the total cost would be $3.3 million, and I concede and stipulate that may be offset, maybe significantly, by grants. But that's, again, that would be a speculation at this point. So
Hold it right there.
Yeah.
And the only way we could actually know if grants are out there is if this property came under the government's ownership. Is that the first requirement?
In some cases, it's the only way to obtain that grant funding.
Correct. Okay. And the longer we wait, the more grants we're missing. We missed an opportunity just 2 months ago with the African American Culture and History grant that came out of D.C. Could have got $1 million right there. August 22nd, there's another grant for underrepresented communities, $75,000 just to plan. And it goes on. And so there are monies, but you can't go after the money if you don't own the property. So my thinking was, let's get our hands on the property. We don't have to give in to extortion. 186 square feet, we shouldn't have to pay him $50,000 for that when we have eminent domain, because it's not in keeping with the documents that the owner signed when he knew we were going after historic property and his further historic designation. He signed off on that. There was no money attached. And so this has become a money-making thing for these people. I don't think it's fair to hold the county hostage to that. And I think the county should use its power to not give in to it. That's my opinion. If that were the case, then you'd be spending $350,000 for the house, which would turn into an office, which would allow access to the property for our archaeologists and et cetera. Now, once the building is restored, which would probably take 1.5 years, then the space would be open to the public, but not until then. Not until then. You can't let people in until you have the building restored, until the archaeologists have an opportunity to get in there and take out those things that have been sitting there for 150 years. So that's the difference, I think, in perspective. My interest is trying to protect this school because at this juncture, doors are falling off, windows are boarded up, all kind of foliage is growing through the floor. They're not taking care of the school. And they won't allow you to come in and clean it up. Mr. Johnson suggested that the county could go out and cut back all that vegetation that's growing, and they wouldn't let them. They didn't want them out there. So we have a group of people here who are holding this property hostage because they're greedy. I'm sorry. They knew this property was there. There was no mention of money when we started this, when we got it on the local register. No mention of money. They were perfectly happy. It's just that when they found out it was an important thing, that it was a treasure, it was something that we wanted to save, and they could put their hand on it, and this is what they've done. So,
Interest in the property has actually ran its value up in their minds.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, see, we want to wrap up because of the extensive work that you've done on this project. Chairman wanted very much to hear your side again, and if there are others who want to weigh in on the item, they will add, I'm sure, much velocity to comments you've shared. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Administrator.
The next speaker is O'Neill Bossman Jackson.
Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, we thank you for being here. We want you to state your name and address for our records.
My name is O'Neill Bossman Jackson. My address is 844 North Macomb Street, Tallahassee, Florida. Now, I'm here to talk on the Lake Hall situation, Lake Hall school situation. Commissioner Proctor, you asked the question, why would we spend $300,000 on that Lake Hall properties? The reason we would spend that is because that's historical history of the black community here. I remember when I was a kid, Lake Hall was our South Beach, Miami. We went out there for our recreation. I can remember the 20th of May, not Juneteenth. That's where people went to celebrate. So that's why we would spend that there. Now, in Leon County, there were more than 20 black one-classroom schools. Most of them has gotten rid of. They still now hold Rainey School. It's up there. Lake McBride is out there, but it's not being used. It's a couple of other buildings. Now, Lake Hall was one. See, very, very few of you remember when Lincoln High School. Hold it, now I'm talking now. I'm talking, okay? Time is out. I'm talking.
Baby Rattler.
Very few of you, I'm a tiger, remember when Lincoln High School, for the field trips, would carry kids out to Lake Hall. I was a little kid when a boat turned over out there. There was no McClay God. A black man owned it, that property. In the afternoons, he would charge 25 cents per car to come down there. That's why we can spend that money on that property. See? But if you all change history, to forget history, we will no longer know what we are looking at. So if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So y'all need to get that property, renovate that building, so our kids will know what and where and how they got to where they are now. Thank you there.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Stanley Sims, to be followed by the final speaker on this item, Max Epstein.
Commissioner, why spend $3.3 million? When we did FAMU Way, they did eminent domain and paid a white property owner $140,000 for less than a fourth of an acre, when we gave $35,000 to an individual who had less than an acre with 2 apartments on it. This is an investment into our history. We're not asking you to fund the whole project of the $3.3 million, but to obtain the land, deal with the extortionists. And we ought to often look, while he was going down memory lane, is where Roberts Elementary School sits now used to be one of those single black schools. That school's not there anymore, Mr. Chairman. But what they did, they painted a beautiful picture and hung it in the lobby of a new school. It's gone. Union Branch used to be right there on the Crump Road. They still gather there every day, where up on that hill, where that one-room classroom used to be out in the chairs. It's not there anymore, but the people still remember. The McBride School that's outside on Burnham Road, restored. We spent a lot of money on that, Commissioner Carolyn, but we don't go in there. That we are not allowed to go in there. Well, I ain't gonna say we're not allowed, but accessibility has not presented itself where we could utilize that building. We understand that this building is not like Smoky Hollow next to Cascade Spa, and we understand it's not on the south side where land is cheap. We understand that this prehistoric piece of history is in a rich area, one that we built because whites back then didn't live in these areas. According to my mother-in-law, who walked from the county into the city for work. That's what the stories these old people tell me. And why do we have to question whether or not we should preserve history? What if, I'm sorry, I get emotional because of this, because I don't like the standards. I don't like when this lady has to come up here and beg for what her forefathers did, when someone else can come up here who's a little lighter, dressed in Chanel, Gucci, clack her heels, and say, my daddy made sausages right here. And we say we bow over and we spend $3.3 million. No, these people clean houses and cut yards, but they need to be respected.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker.
Final speaker on this item, Max Epstein.
Ms. Epstein, please state your name and address for the record.
Hey, Max Epstein, 1001 San Luis Road. So I'm here not to particularly talk about those issues because they have been enunciated, but the money issue here. If you're not going to do anything and you don't want to spend an equivalent amount of money that you did on the Miccosukee School, it's around $800,000 to buy all the property, you have to buy the piece with the school on it because it is deteriorating and it's not going to exist anymore. That way you can get the grants and then hopefully assemble stuff later on. Well, that piece on Appalachia is also pretty important when you look at it. I think you can get creative with this too. If you bought all of it and you owned all three pieces, the two large pieces, you have two houses. If you rent those out right now, you're getting about $35,000, $40,000 a year in rent. That's money that comes back. It's going to take 2 years to fix it up anyway. That's about $75,000 back in the county. What else could you do? You could section off the school and attach it to the Appalachia Parkway and sell the other house. Maybe make another $150,000 back. But really, if you don't want to do that and you don't want to do what you did for the Miccosukee School, you have to preserve that piece. The county has to come in and buy it. And you need to think of this not only as just preserving history, but this is an economic development project. People will come from all around the state. Everyone in Tallahassee is going to want to see it. This is money coming back to you. And you will get a 2, 3, 4 times return on your money in grants. I mean, how can you say no to that? Ashmore's got $750,000. The Miccosukee School got $1 million. That money is out there, and that school will get restored. So this is important for our community, and it's about the money that's coming into the community too. You know, that lady who had that $150,000 house on FAMU, she was able to retain it and sold it. She got way more than that, way more than the other folks did. And we're talking about a smaller amount of money here. I'll end by saying here, you know, when we were looking at FAMU Way, the FSU Economic Center for Economic Forecasting, they did DOC, they did a lot of the other stuff, I believe. They showed that one tree on FAMU Way would bring in about $500,000 a year in tourism. And this is what we need to be looking at, not from just the environment, but her historic properties. That's what we have here, and they're disappearing quickly. They're gone just about everywhere else, but here, it's money. You're going to get it back, and do you preserve it or not? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein. Are there other speakers?
That concludes our speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure that, for point of clarification, Mr. Jackson indicated that for $3.3 million, we could buy this Lake Hall area. I want to make sure that for clarification, Ms. County Attorney, that the $3.3 million is pretty much for the lot of which the building is on. And tell us the area, and does the AREA actually encompass the picture that was painted about having picnics and all of? How much land are we getting for the price of 3.3?
Can I add on to that clarification before? Can I add on to that, Mr. Administrator? Too, there was a mention of just purchasing the land at this point, which I think comes out to that would be all of it with the frontage and both parcels. And can we, at this point, can we actually do that?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it would be difficult to buy just the piece of property that Mr. Epstein talked about if you want to have full control and possession of the schoolhouse, because it's on two lots. Mm-hmm. So that's why it requires the purchase of two lots, except one of the property owners requires that his purchase is contingent on buying yet another lot. His sale would be contingent on us buying yet another lot, the lot on Thomasville Road. That's where you get the 866 from. The 866 is just the dirt and to get constructive possession of the schoolhouse itself. The dollars above and beyond that go up to the 3.3. Again, that's maintenance, and not maintenance. That's infrastructure costs. Again, which we've already talked about, could be offset by grants. But 866 to get control in a willing sale scenario of the schoolhouse, and that would be 3 parcels.
Okay, question legal. Could we, given the, as was pointed out, that 2 lots involved, could we get the dominant lot of which the property, meaning the building, is postured? And could we file a motion to quiet title and even to make an argument for adverse possession of the disputed lot? Why can't we get a quiet title and settle the lot issue, and for the smaller part of the building that is not on that land, and just do that and maybe perhaps write a check for $20,000 for whatever that little piece might be? Can we not pursue that course? Would that be an option, County Attorney?
So to be clear, what you're talking about is buying the entire parcel where the house sits and the majority of the schoolhouse sits to the south on the map, and then using eminent domain to obtain the portion, the schoolhouse itself in a certain footprint around the schoolhouse, and the smaller portion on the lot to the north. Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm saying if we bought the lot and we owned it, why can't we file lawsuit to quiet the title? Because the court can then, if it desires and sees what's just and equitable, reroute the line of that property. And then for whatever the value that the court settles, a minimal amount that we might pay for the actual space of which that building is sitting on top of?
To my knowledge, there's no basis to file an action to quiet title. I mean, the survey and the property line is clear. There's been no assertion over time that the property owner to the south has owned or used that portion of that schoolhouse on that property to the north. So the only legal proceeding that we could use to obtain that property or that portion of the property to the north would be eminent domain, which is what we've outlined in previous agenda items to the board. But it's going to be more than $20,000 to do that, because not only do you have the cost of whatever the appraisal value is for that portion of the property, you have severance damages, which would have to be evaluated. You're going to have appraisals. In an eminent domain proceeding, we would pay for all costs associated with the litigation, not just ours, but the property owners, their attorney's fees, their appraisers, their consultants, and everything else. So I can't tell you what that cost would be, but you're looking at a lot more than $20,000 to obtain the footprint around that portion of the schoolhouse on the property to the north.
Okay, Commissioner Welch, would you please offer and share with the board your sense of direction? Did you sign a speaker's card?
I'd like to.
All right, sign up a card, Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the conversation and debate. I want to thank Andy Johnson for all you've done on this issue, and Vince and Chastity and staff, and all of you who've considered this before I was here. And I think we all know this is an important issue to the county, not just to District 4. Here's my take on the situation. My understanding of it, as I look at the analysis that's been provided, I want to thank staff for going out and talking to the homeowner at the property that is on Thomasville Road, that fronts Thomasville Road. I think that is a game changer for this conversation. The $450,000 property or whatever, $425,000 property that has a house on it. The analysis states that that property would provide access. It is directly adjacent to the physical schoolhouse. The property on Thomasville Road. It's directly adjacent. It would provide the access. It would provide future parking, future restroom facilities, a future museum, or the infrastructure that you would need to facilitate that schoolhouse as a tourist site. I think all the talk about numbers and eminent domain and 3.3 million and 866,000, 425,000, I think all of those numbers are clouding what I think is a creative and rather simple solution to the problem, which is for $866,000, we can acquire the house on Thomasville Road, directly adjacent, that provides access. We can acquire the schoolhouse itself and pay the $50,000 to the one property owner and the $350,000 to the other property owner. The $350,000 price is for a residential home. Hypothetically, we could pay the $866,000. By the way, I would argue that once we possess the property and have $866,000 invested in it, I think Dr. C and her group could get grant money to and above that amount relatively quickly. Why couldn't they just pay the county back, acquire all the property back? Number one, as a scenario. But that scenario aside, why couldn't we turn around and sell the $350,000 property that we just acquired once we redraw the boundary to isolate the schoolhouse? We have a residential property that we don't want or need. Why can't we just turn around and sell it? In this real estate market, you're probably not going to recoup all your money. I bet you'd recoup $200,000 out of that structure, which is probably its market value. It's a nice part of town. So you $200,000 you get back right there, you've got access off Thomasville Road, and now you possess the physical land and the schoolhouse itself. Now, Dr. C and her organization go out and get funding, potentially buy it all back from the county, and or buy half of it back. The county can go in halvesies and be a partner in this community asset. That is a scenario that I think is realistic. Now, if we cannot as a board get to that scenario, and the county attorney might tell me I'm totally wrong on that hypothetical in terms of what I'm saying, but my plain brain seems to think that might work. If we can't do that, then I will revisit Commissioner Cummings' previous statements about this project at the last meeting, which is, I think at a minimum, we can acquire the property on Thomasville Road for $425,000 or $450,000, whatever it is. That would include not at this time purchasing the physical schoolhouse, but it would certainly send a message that the county is serious about preserving this historic facility. And who knows, maybe in a year or 2 years, the dynamics change in the residential real estate market. Maybe the people who want $350,000 for their entire home and a sliver of the schoolhouse have a change of heart, and they want to sell the house for market value, or they want to assign a variance. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we don't know that can happen, but I think at a minimum, you've got a piece of property that is sitting there that is not getting offers. It says they're entertaining offers. They've lowered the price from $500 to $450 or $425. I mean, they're coming down on the price of that house on Thomasville Road. Not an ideal location for a residential property, frankly. I bet you we could go in there and offer them $350, $400, and acquire just that property directly adjacent to the schoolhouse, and we would be moving in the right direction at that point. So that is, I'm not going to make a motion to that effect, but I just want to entertain that amongst my colleagues. I guess first, ask the county attorney, is my scenario even plausible, the ideas that I presented? I assume I don't need to restate them or anything, but if you
They are
understood.
plausible.
Okay. So if we acquire, like I said, if we want to go 866 and acquire all three of them, I think we sell back the $350,000 property and make a couple $100,000 pretty quick. So now you're at 666 into it. Now Dr. C has the ability to get grant money. She could get grant money, probably $1 million, let's say hypothetically, in a year or two, depending on what the situation is. Certainly it's out there. I think it's out there. I think there's money out there for this kind of stuff. We acquire it. We become the trustee until the nonprofit can collect it back. Or if that doesn't work, let's just make an offer on the property on Thomasville Road, which places us in a position now. The neighboring properties know we're serious about it. And who knows what breaks free from that. I think that is a step in the right direction. I think the phased approach that Commissioner Cummings mentioned before, I think that accomplishes that. Phase one, we acquire the property on Thomasville Road. Nobody breaks free of their grips for $50,000 or $350,000. Okay, well, let's keep investigating a phase two. Maybe that involves eminent domain. We have access now. We have a facility. We have restrooms. We got what we need. Maybe something breaks free from that, but I think it's, at this juncture, so much work and consideration has gone into this by our staff and by us and previous iterations of this board. I think we all want to do it. It's just trying to be creative about how we do it and being fiscally responsible about how we do it. I think we can budget for it in future cycles, even if we do think about it in phases. But I think that it is such a crucial statement for us in the part of town where real estate is high and quality of life is high and people want to live. We say, you know what? This is a monolith of how we got here. This is representative of how we got here. The roadbed for the old Thomasville Road is directly next door to this thing. It's 6 feet deep. This is something that we can do if we really put our heads together and are creative about it. I would like us to consider that. If there is favor amongst the board, maybe Commissioner Maddox, Vice Chair Maddox, who's so good at crafting motions, can help me craft a motion to make that a reality. But I would say simply, just to close it up, we do phases. Phase one being acquiring that first property, or we do the whole 866 with the realistic idea that we can sell back. You put that concrete block house on the market, you're going to get 200 grand for it tomorrow, I guarantee you. And then we let Dr. C and her group come up, let them try. They can't even try right now. Let them try to find the funding for it. I think they could find it, and I think that would be really good on us to make that step. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I think I'm pretty good at crafting motions too. Just kidding. All right. So here's the thing. What I won't do is, let me ask you a question first. Mr. Administrator, how much money do we have in contingency?
About $110,000.
All right. So what I won't do is blow my budget this fiscal year for something we don't have money for. So what I will consider is having this be a budget discussion item for the upcoming budget, so we can talk about it in framework of budgeting for it next fiscal year. I do think you come up with a very interesting idea. And if I was going to craft a motion, it would be for the county administrator to bring back a budget discussion item around the purchasing price of $866, or with a maximum of $900,000 for the parcels in question. Bring it back for budget discussion during our budget discussions, and then see if we can get it budgeted for the next fiscal year and purchase it at that time. If we can do that, great. If we can't, then so be it. But right now, we just don't have the money in the budget. We'd be sweeping all of our contingency to get it done. So I think just to be, is there a way to do it? There is a way to do it, but I don't think it's fiscally responsible for us to do it unless we're doing it in the framework of trying to get prepared for it in the next fiscal year. I do think the history of it is important. But I do think we also have to be very thoughtful about how we move forward on this. And I think Commissioner Welch, I think also that Dr. C and the supporters of this have to understand that $3.3 million, 3.1 or whichever it was, is a lot of money to consider when you're looking at also some of the other things that we're trying to tackle in our community. So we would be looking for a lot of help, an array of grants and stuff like that to get it done. I mean, it would be my desire that if we were able to if we were able to move in this direction, I'm not even asking that they pay back the $900,000, but more so that the rest of that 2.1, if we're able to find enough grants to get it done with that 2.1, that we're able to do that moving forward and not have to dig deeper into our budget to get it done. Because again, I'm only asking for a budget. If I asked, I would only ask for a budget discussion item of the $900,000 for the next fiscal year, which means that the only thing we'd be doing during that year is just purchasing the property. So it would come with the understanding of, okay, that year, if anything else happens, it's going to happen through grants and things of that nature. Now, in out years, I think you give it some time. I also believe that you have some ideas there about purchasing the property and maybe selling, that kind of stuff like that. It is a pretty affluent side of town. I think the property can be seen as desirable. So we give it some time. We give it some time frame. I don't like necessarily the county being seen as holding property, but we give it some time, see if it works out. And then if it does not work out, then we always have that property to be able to be purchased at a later date. But we at least give it a chance if we are able to move forward with the $900,000. So with that being said, I think the direction that you're trying to move in is a budget discussion item on $900,000 for the purchase, maximum $900,000 for the purchase of all the land possible, all the land that will make this dream possible of reserving Lake Hall School. We have that budget discussion during budget time, and if we so desire, then we move in the way of budgeting it at that time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very much. Commissioner Cummings, followed by Commissioner Jackson, followed by a speaker who's among and with us in the audience. We would allow for their voice to be heard. Commissioner Cummings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I certainly appreciate all the speakers and my fellow commissioners that have spoken on this particular agenda item. But just for point of clarification, I guess, to our county attorney or to maybe our county administrator, I recognize that Commissioner Maddox is talking about purchasing all 3 properties and looking at it from a budgetary standpoint for next year. One of the things that we discussed at our last commission meeting is sort of a bifurcated process, step by step that Commissioner Welch mentioned. So my question is, would we have the budgetary means at this point to purchase the property where the Lake Hall School sits, number one, and number two, if we had the ability to purchase that now, and I'm thinking this because Dr. C is talking about all the missed opportunities for grants that continue to pass by, and we know that money is not always available. If we purchase that one piece of property where the majority of the house sits, would we have the opportunity to do what we needed to do as far as maybe signing an agreement with the Lake Hall School Incorporation to allow them to purchase grant funds or apply for grant funds just with that one piece of property right now?
Chastity and I can try to tag team that a little bit. So could we buy the piece of property where the majority of the schoolhouse sits? Certainly, if the board provided us that direction, we would bring you back options on how to do that. It would exhaust your general fund contingency. Heading into hurricane season, it would exhaust your fund balance. It would require us to go to other fund balance contingencies current year as an unbudgeted expense. Could you do it? Yes, you could do it. And we'd bring you back how to do that if that was your direction. And you would, I don't think that I could speak to whether you would control the site because it would still be partly owned by another private property owner. So I think that's the best answer that I would have to the question.
Okay, but my second question is, would we then have the legal ability to apply for grants based on our deed, the county's deed, to that particular piece of property where the majority of the schoolhouse sits?
To dovetail into what the administrator said and the last point he made, we would have legal ownership and access to a portion, but not all of that schoolhouse.
Okay.
Also, there is a problem related to legal access. I will also say, unless you get that Thomasville Road parcel, we have not been able to find an easement for ingress or egress to either one of those properties. So when you start looking at representing in some sort of grant application that this is a project, how are you going to provide legal access to the public? The purchase of that Thomasville Road piece is what addresses that issue.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we have exhausted all the possibilities before we look at Commissioner Maddox's proposal and suggestion, which I don't oppose, but I just wanted to see if we could get to where we want to go in a more expedited process. But I certainly support Commissioner Maddox, having heard from the county attorney and the county administrator. Okay. Thank you.
Madam County Attorney, as a matter of public policy, don't Florida courts tend toward leaning to easements being granted for public, for owners' access? And in this instance, the public would be, and wouldn't, in the matter of easements, courts would likely more favorably look to, if we were the owner, the county's ability to access property.
The issue, well, right now that's a residential property. And so what a court would say that you are entitled to for ingress and egress to that property is different than the ingress and egress and access that you would need for the public to access a public building, which is what this would be. So potentially what you're looking at, if you do not have access off of Thomasville Road, is you are looking to obtain additional ingress and egress rights along that private road that currently exists. And you're also going to have to be concerned about whether that road in its current form will sustain traffic from the public to access that schoolhouse property as you intend to use it for a public purpose. And I'll look over to my, excuse me, Dr. C, excuse me, I'll look over to my right to Dan Rigo, who also, he's our eminent domain expert, he's our real estate expert, so that he can weigh in if I have neglected to inform the board of something that's relevant on that issue.
Give us further insights, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the county attorney has covered it pretty well. The challenge here with the legal access to these parcels is that, number one, you got Handsome Quarters Road coming off of Lake Hall Road, which is a private road, and we've not been able to find any access easements or ingress egress easements of record giving legal access. Not that there's not physical access, obviously, but and then off of that Handsome Quarters Road is an even smaller private drive, I would call it, that leads to these two parcels. That gets back to, again, we would have to obtain the legal rights of ingress and egress over those properties leading to these two parcels, and then it's the physical condition of the road would probably need to be improved in order to make it a public road to this public property. So those are the challenges that we face with obtaining just those parcels without obtaining the Thomasville Road parcel. The Thomasville Road parcel obviously would do the trick coming right off of Thomasville Road.
Mr. Chair, on point, can I ask a question?
Who's speaking?
Me.
Okay, Commissioner Wells.
Thank you, Dan. I think we need to be clear. The Thomasville Road parcel is crucial. The Thomasville Road parcel is crucial, and that's why I'm saying we need to be a little creative. You need to think about the Thomasville Road parcel before you think about the schoolhouse parcel, because the Thomasville Road parcel ain't going to be there forever. And if we wait a budget cycle, that it could be sold at any time. Now, it's sitting there and ain't getting offers. Now, here's a question that could maybe provide clarity to all of us. And this is a county attorney question, or county administrator. Could the county put the property under contract in the hopes that the owner of the property, the Thomasville Road property, has it in their heart to give us a prolonged contractual period till we can work through budget issues, which I assume we're looking at a 9-month, 6 to 9 months before we could have budget item discussions? I mean, when's our fiscal year, in July?
Much sooner than that.
October, that money would be available if the board included it in the 22-23 budget.
We're talking quite a while. So I think the Thomasville Road parcel that is currently available for $425,000 and not getting offers, which means you could probably get it for $350,000 or maybe less, maybe more. That parcel is crucial because it gives you the access. The millions of dollars we're talking about is because we got to provide access. You got to build roads. You got to acquire roads within Handsome Quarters and the little side streets there. The Thomasville Road parcel is crucial parcel. If we let it slide till October, it's likely going to be sold. It's not ideal for a residential home where it's located, the way the road has been widened. That's why it's not selling. I'm guessing. There's other parcels around there. The 3.3 million thing we've got to kind of forget about. That is not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about phases, to Commissioner Cummings' point. I think at the very least, we need to try and acquire the Thomasville Road property for $350,000, $375,000, whatever. Let's make an offer on it. Maybe they got a good heart and they realize what we're trying to do. They're not getting offers on it otherwise. It doesn't have an adequate appraisal. They've lowered the price already substantially. We acquire that property. We then have the opportunity to hope something breaks free on the schoolhouse property itself. And so that's what I'm asking us to be creative about. I think if we wait, the Thomasville Road property is gone. Now you've lost that opportunity. You're right back in the million-dollar conversations of providing adequate roads and easements and egress and all that stuff that we can't get. The Thomasville Road property is crucial.
Commissioner Jackson, we're going to get to you on point. Commissioner Maddox, and then Commissioner Jackson, and then the gentleman who submitted it.
I appreciate your points, Commissioner Welsh. I think that I'm a sucker for process when it comes to budget, though. That would be very hard for me. You got $110,000 in contingency. We'll have to sweep other contingencies, underfund balances to make this happen. Though I understand where you're coming from, I mean, and even if, let's say, we put it on under contract and say that we're going to do it later, then what we're doing is we're obligating ourselves to $350,000 in a budget without talking about the budget. It's going to take a while for me to get there. Mr. Administrator, explain to me a little bit the process by which you will go about sweeping fund balances to get to whatever the purchase price is, and then talk me through how we would, if there's a possibility of us being able to refund or replenish those fund balances to get it back to the levels that they're at now in the upcoming budget cycle.
Please be succinct, Mr.
Sure. I'll start by saying we've never done it before, but we would. Again, this would be an accounting exercise, and we'd have to try to keep those other fund balances in consistent with state statutes in terms of what those reserves need to be. So again, could you do it? You certainly could do it. And I know Commissioner Welch knows this, but I have to say for the rest, and I get that picture. Thomasville Road does not get you the house, and I know you know that, but Thomasville Road does not get you the properties where the homes are. Anything also could happen to those properties in the meantime. All it gives you is a piece of property on Thomasville Road, which may or may not be used in the future to access the homes. So it's very important to put that out there.
Question: would DOT have to somehow permit us to build a public road? Would that have to come through DOT?
We would have to seek that authorization through DOT.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Jackson, you've been waiting from the headline of this matter. Please come in now and share with your thoughts.
Sure, sound check. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
First off, let me start by thanking the Friends of Lake Hall. It's not as easy to keep up with all of you guys talking on Zoom, and we found that out, and see why we're meeting in public now. But I do want to thank Dr. C. She's been extremely resourceful for me and getting information. O'Neill Jackson, the Lincoln Tigers are known well by Dr. Marvin Henderson, a longtime leader here in Leon County, and Mr. Epstein, as well as Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims, I appreciate your love for history, seeing as the Fort Braden Schoolhouse began educational services as far back as 1857. And to my colleagues, there's been some really good ideas, and Mr. Welsh's, history and social studies background makes him a fine candidate for an 8th grade teaching position in the coming year. This is what I've been able to glean off of information from Dr. C, who has been very helpful, and reading over the agenda items. I feel like we've done our due diligence for now, and that things can change, just like Commissioner Welch alluded to. And if they do, I want to be there for that change and a part of the decisions moving forward. It boils down to a situation where the The schoolhouse is on two pieces of private property, which would have to be acquired in a neighborhood, and then the acquisition of an additional private property to provide access. Did I hear you right on that, Madam Attorney?
That would be the optimum alternative because access on the private roads is extremely problematic.
Right. And so the estimated cost, $866,000. When you see that number and it's not a budgeted item, Mr. Administrator, I'm assuming that would come from the general fund contingency. Am I correct?
No, that would exhaust the general fund contingency many times over. That would have to come from general fund contingency and fund balances.
Right. So we heard Kevin Peters and Commissioner Dozier both mention hurricanes, and I would hate for us to have a situation like we had in October of 2018 with Hurricane Michael and not have funds to, obviously, we would do what we have to as a county, but not have the available funds to clean up after a massive storm the size of Michael. Commissioner Maddox made a great point about it being unbudgeted, and we would have to race through those funds and do something pretty quickly. And if we want to wait and consider it for next year's budget, it still will require us to prioritize it and even realign our capital budget to find the money to do it. And I'm okay doing that. In fact, whatever we can do and make this a win, I'm all in favor of. But that's not going to be easy either when you're talking about overpaying for, the market price. We could acquire the properties through eminent domain, and my research, and I could be wrong on this, but in both forms of the last two meetings on this agenda item, there are several state and federal grant groups who eliminate themselves from funding if there is eminent domain that has to occur. Am I correct in that, either Madam Attorney or Mr. Administrator?
That is correct.
Okay. We've explored many, many options. We've talked about it, and there's nothing I'd love better than to jump in as a county and say this matters, and this is important, and this is why. Normally, on projects like this, the county is the last money in, and it should be that way as we handle the funds from our constituents. So, like for example, if the Trust for Public Land was at the table and negotiated this deal, and then all the land acquisition and ongoing operation and maintenance, and needed a local match, I'd be the one to make the motion for that scenario. The Friends of Lake Hall chose to come back with us with an agreement from the property owners that allows the Friends to maintain the property and brings that back to us as a proposal. Then I'm all in on that. In the meantime, we have a house and historic preservation overlay. We are constantly, I think, evaluating and interested in examining these issues to somehow recognize important moments in Leon County's history. And that's where I'm at. And I can't thank the folks enough for their passion and their work, and Dr. C, who beats the drum for something that matters, and I couldn't agree with them more. But at the same time, draining our current year contingency funds may not be the thing to do when we're talking about 21 days from the hurricane season. And I hope that's not the kiss of the cross. Hopefully we won't have any. But the prediction is there. That's where I'm at, and I'd love to work on a proposal that I can support, vote on in the future. And maybe that is in the another budget year, or maybe it's a phase type operation. But as Commissioner Maddox mentioned, placing it into this year's item as an unbudgeted item may not be the best idea. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll listen.
Commissioner Jackson, you're a jewel. Commissioner Minor, Dustin, you're next. So here I understand you're trying to leave. And then our Vice
On
Chairman.
point, Mr. Chair, Dustin has an idea that he shared with me. I will share the idea and give you credit for it. I know you have to leave, but I think it's something worthy of us hearing. Commissioner Minor, I'll just do it after you finish. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Two questions. If Madam County Attorney, if you could kind of refresh our memory about the historical preservation overlay. I mean, that basically means that any type, and it applies to both those parcels, right? So any demolition, modification, alteration of the schoolhouse property must go through the Architectural Review Board. Is that correct?
It's my understanding that it would apply to the schoolhouse structure itself. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But any permit to request any demolition, alteration of the schoolhouse itself must come to the Architectural Review Board, correct?
That's correct.
Worst case scenario, let's say a permit such as that did come through. The Architectural Review Board basically could make its own decision on that demolition permit, and the County Commission would really have no say in the matter, no input on what the Architectural Review Board would rule on, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But the permit still would have to go through the Architectural Review Board in order to even be possible. Okay. We could, of course, communicate our preferences, our intention to the Architectural Review Board, and they could take that in consideration.
Yes.
Yeah. The second question is, what capacity do we have, in addition, instead of trying to figure out how to pay for the entire Thomasville Road property at one time, what financing options might we have in terms of, if we were just a regular resident, we could put basically make arrangements with the bank for a mortgage, put a down payment on it, and spread the cost out for the property over many years. So in other words, we wouldn't have to take our full $110,000 contingency left in the fiscal year, take a portion of that for down payment and.
Mr. Chairman, can I just, respectfully, Commissioners, the mechanics of these deals are not the issue. We do really complicated land deals every single day in the millions and millions of dollars. So the mechanics of finding a more creative mechanic, that's not an issue. The issue is, would the board like to give us the direction to appropriate the dollars to do that? And again, if that's the case, we can do that. There's a million financing strategies and other things that we can employ. Again, the issue really is, if you understand the assumption that, if you consider the assumption that we've presented here in terms of really requiring the 866 to control and have access to the property, would you like to give us the direction to do that in the current year, or to do that as a budget discussion item, or to provide other direction? I just don't want to get too weighed down in the mechanics of financing and that sort of thing, because that's, we could figure that out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. All right, Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So quickly, I was down there talking to Dr. C and Dustin, and I think Dustin had a pretty decent idea, and the idea was, because the issue is around budget. We don't have the budget right now to really deal with this. And so we're trying to get to an actual budget discussion item, and I think the best way, as Dustin explained, I kind of like the idea, is what if we looked at a land lease, 12-month land lease.
Oh, you're talking too fast. What you said?
Looked at a 12-month land lease of the Thomasville Road property, which is the one that we're most concerned about right now, not being there over time, at, let's say, $20,000 or so. And it gives us time to talk about it during budget discussion, decide whether or not we want to move forward. During that land lease, it would give us first right of refusal on the purchase, but it would give us time. Because what's working against us right now is that we just don't have time to talk through a budget on this item. So I think the better proposal here to look at is to look at doing that, trying to get staff to negotiate a land lease agreement with first right of refusal on the Thomasville Road property for, let's say, approximately a year. Also bringing back a budget discussion item to look at purchasing and controlling the whole, all the land required to move forward, which would be the $866,000 or $900,000 we talked about, and then seeing where we go from there. It gives us time, like I said again, it gives us time to have a discussion. We're not in a real rush about it, and it only takes about $20,000 or so out of contingency, so it still leaves us some there to be able to work with during hurricane season. So I credit Dustin with the idea, but I think it's a pretty good idea of how we can move forward with this thing, but give us some time to talk about it and be in the right order when it comes to budget.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Dozier, in the meantime, I'm placing before the county's attorney the question of Commissioner Maddox coming from Dustin, which is in my own notes. Could the county lease the property for 3 years and be would we be considered a title owner and could then secure grants under a lease or either a lease to purchase or lease to own kind of situation? I know that Commissioner Maddox's ask is that we purchase the right to buy time for the owner, that we figure it out. I'm asking, could we use a lease as a matter of title as a county being an owner to purchase in the future?
No, a lease does not convey title and ownership of the property.
Gotcha.
So that would not affect that outcome.
Okay, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One more robust, good conversation here. I do want to thank the Friends of Lake Hall and everyone who's worked on this. We got letters, I'm sure everyone else has seen them, from Congressman Lawson, Representative Allison Tant. We all share a strong desire and interest. It's why we've been through 4 agenda items since December, looking for solutions, keep kind of massaging this and looking for some way to make a very challenging situation work. And I have said this before, but something that should never have happened in the first place. And by that I mean how we view our history today and the need to preserve and protect our history is different than when those lot lines were drawn by whatever developer way back whenever they developed this land. I don't think in fact, I'm going to know if a property came up today, like some of the cemeteries we're finding on different pieces of property, the Milani, other places, it would be identified and it would be protected. And we would not have this kind of quagmire, right, with 3 different property owners and all of these issues. So first and foremost, I think this reinforces, and I appreciate the board's commitment over the last few years to focus on identifying and protecting our history. And I know I've said it before, I'm going to keep saying it, but this is why that position for an in-house staff member who can focus on archaeological and cultural resources and help folks in our community navigate, that's why that was so kind of inspiring to me when I realized other counties did that. And I hope we can work with the city and do that at some point in the future. So the idea that we want to do this, I think, is universal. The question is how, and I'm not going to repeat the comments that have been made about the budget. I absolutely agree that wiping out the contingency, going into the fund balance for this fiscal year, that makes me really nervous, and I just can't support that. If I heard you all correctly, was it 110,000? Was that right? Alan, you could just nod. Yeah. Okay. Left in contingency. The suggestion, and I'm going to skip over the lease. I guess I have a question about that lease option, Mr. Vice Chair, that you just brought up. But the question of putting it into a budget discussion item, we won't know until our budget workshop what other items our staff is bringing us, right? I don't, at this point, I mean, to have a budget discussion item like this, it starts getting into the mix and our staff starts making some very hard choices if there are other things that we have to fund. Other issues that are coming down the pike. And I'm not going to put you on the spot, Mr. County Administrator. I know we're going to get that It'll be June, correct? Our first budget workshop? Okay. And so I even have some hesitation about saying, yes, let's move forward with the budget discussion item right now until we see that workshop item and we know the full picture of what's happening in the budget, because this could be a big challenge at that point. And let me be clear, and I think others have referenced this, we have so many needs in our community, so many things we have to do. I think, making a choice between our core services and doing this would be a real struggle for all of us. Again, we all want to do this, but I just want to add that extra layer of caution. One of my concerns of even getting that budget discussion item going and having that placeholder before our June budget workshop, that gives me some concern. Now, could we, and Ms. County Administrator, here's a question for you, could we have it as a topic of discussion in June, meaning we don't, ask you to bring back an item and fit it into the proposed budget, but we get to look at everything you bring us and then reflect at that June workshop on whether or not we want to add that in for our July discussion. Would that be possible?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, that's absolutely the way we would bring this back. And what Commissioner Dozier is noting, the distinction we make sometimes when the board gives us direction to include this in the balanced budget versus bring it back as a budget discussion item. So this would be a budget discussion item which we wouldn't contemplate within the balanced budget until you gave us that direction.
So the chairman just heard a motion from Commissioner Dozier. Is there a second?
No, sir, you didn't. I didn't.
That's not what?
No, sir. I got
you framed it perfect.
Well,
okay.
That gives me a little bit of comfort that it is the budget discussion item and not working within that budget, because I don't think anyone, if we did that, if the board moved forward to have a discussion item, I don't see that as a commitment to moving forward because we don't know what's coming down. I'm just thinking of what Josie from Eldercare said earlier. She's seeing the wait list go up at Eldercare because the COVID money is now gone. This is going to be a very different budget than we've seen in the last 2 years. It could be. I just don't know what's going to come. So I've got some concerns there. The second thing that I wanted to ask about, Ms. County Administrator, is something that we haven't really dug into as much. We're talking about, and I certainly agree with you, Dr. C and I talked about this yesterday, the $3 million or however much it may take to enhance the property, to make it accessible for the public. I think you've done your due diligence to give us an idea of what that might look like, but very likely it could come through grants. So we may not be on the hook for that, but we've got to know what that is, because if we didn't get the grants, the county owns the property. So we may have to do something. But the other part of that is because, if we were to take ownership of all 3 parcels and the due diligence starts, we get archaeological and cultural folks in there to do an assessment. There's been some reference to, we already have bathrooms. We already have parking at the residence. Ms. County Administrator, are we allowed to use a residential property as public access? Or, is it kind of like a job site at that point where it's kind of temporary use? Does it come with insurance? Do we have to have safety measures? What does it look like for the county to own this property and to work with the Friends of Lake Hall Schoolhouse and others while they're doing this due diligence?
My assumption is that there would be significant work that we would have to do to make it accessible to the public.
So that may cost us something even before we get to any grants, anything like that, just to be able to do that work, to assess the building and apply for grants.
Depending on what the desire was, when you wanted to make it accessible to the public.
It's a lot of speculation. Mr. Vice Chair, you're shaking your head here. I'd love okay, well.
Dr. C, I'm the chairman of this meeting. Is there something urgent in your heart? Stand up and come to the mic and talk to us. Don't sit to us and talk to us here. I'm going to acknowledge you, but you're out of order. But the chairman's going to defer because it's you, Dr. C. Come on, talk to us.
Mr. Chair, could I, as Dr. C is
No, let her
up,
talk. Let her talk. I don't want all this talking across. I want to hear one at a time. I have 2 ears, but I can't hear but one conversation. Thank you for
I
the
just
diversity.
wanted to finish my comments.
Mr. Vice Chairman, would you let me chair this meeting, please? I want to hear from Dr. C. I'm going to hear from Ms. Dozier. I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
We got time for everybody.
I think
But there got to be
there's
some order. Dr. C, take a minute and say something.
I think there's a confusion about the timeline here. I know that everyone here seems to be very concerned about public access. But there won't be any public access to that school for at least 2 years because of the restoration that has to happen. So all of the streets and sidewalks, none of that would be appropriate upon purchasing the property. So there's a huge difference between allowing us to get grants in here and then making it accessible for the public. It's not going to be open to the public for at least 2 years because it'll take that long for the restoration. So at this juncture, I'm just trying to get somebody to own the school so we can write the grants.
Have you checked with the school board? The school board, have you heard of Leon County School Board? What will they do? They have the school board. Was this a public school, a private school? Where's the school board's money?
Exactly. Well, they bought it in 1919, and then they closed it in the 60s. So
they closed it after Brown versus Board.
Correct.
They got some responsibility in this. They need to be checked with. Thank you very much, Dr. C. Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. C. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Dr. C, you and I had that conversation yesterday, and I agreed with you that the full public access may not happen for a few years. I absolutely agree with you. What I am speaking to is county-owned property and volunteers, Friends of Lake Hall School. You would be counted as public even over the next 2 years to do that work, to bring in folks to do the archaeological assessment, to do the cultural review, to be able to apply for the grants. Exactly what you and I were talking about yesterday. And the county, as the owner of the property, that comes with some we would have, there could be insurance, there could be other things. It's a residential property. It becomes public the moment the county owns it. And that was the question I had for the county administrator, which it sounds like is one of the many unknowns. So it's just a placeholder there that if we move forward in that budget discussion item, that is one of the things that we're going to have to look at because we may have to spend some money immediately to provide access to do the grant work and everything. This is so much more complicated than just, and I would love to get it done. This is the fourth agenda item. We've all been through this. And Mr. County Administrator and Madam County Attorney, it is an incredible amount of work for you and your staff. But Mr. County Administrator, you're about to jump in there. There are a lot of unknowns about how this would work moving forward with county-owned property, correct?
That's correct, and Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you said it's complicated from the giddy up, so let's say that 3 more times so everybody can get it.
Yeah, I think that Commissioner Dozier was just speaking to some of the attractive nuisance issues in terms of the control of the property in that period of time, what the county's obligation would be there as well, but yes.
That's it. Madam County Attorney, do you have anything to add to that? Am I on the right track? I just wanted to give you a moment.
No, we would have to consider the county's obligation to maintain and secure that property for public invitees and those who might want to just utilize the property for their own purposes, even though they're not invitees. There are any number of issues associated with owning that property, just like any other property that's owned by the county. Yep.
And if we own the house and we wanted to offer it for a meeting space for Friends of Lake Hall, for others, as they do that assessment work, we may have to look at the commercial versus residential. Or is that not an issue?
Well, depending on the proposed uses for that property at any given time, we have to comply with our own code requirements, just like we impose those on everybody else that owns property. But yeah, like ADA compliance, for example. That's depending on how you plan to use this property at different times. ADA compliance just becomes an example of things that you need to address. But yes, we would have to go through that entire process and work with our DSIM staff to ensure that everything that we have and the uses for that property at any given time are compliant with all laws and rules and regulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Chair and further, I'm not trying to, just load this up with more questions, but there's a whole lot more questions that come into play every step we take down this process, and there's more money and other things. If we go back, 30, 40 years, I'm thinking pre-comp plan, but that may not be, there was a lot more flexibility in our land development code. We might be able to waive some rules, things like that. We can't waive our own rules now. We have to comply with these different things. And it looks like a simple situation just to take the property and then apply for the grants. So if we go forward, I just want to do it eyes wide open and understanding all of the different issues that we may have to look at. And if there is a budget discussion item, I think we've got to dig into those factors because it could be a lot more cost next year than what we've been talking about. That's why I wanted to go into that line of questions. So the very last thing I'll say on this, Mr. Chair, is I referenced those letters from Congressman Lawson and Representative Tant. That's a good indication that we would have state and federal delegation backing us if we're looking for grants for other things. If we went forward with a budget discussion item, I would very much like to have some conversations with their offices very soon. If we're going to get into this, and I think Commissioner Jackson's the one that said typically county money would be the last in. We would see some group coming together, or we would, have a process and we would be supporting that. We are the first money in. I would like to get some commitments for their help. They can't guarantee funding in the future, but for their help navigating this and any other opportunities. I think the county is not just taking the property and allowing others to look for those grants. I think this puts us in a position to ensure that gets done, that we have to protect the property while it's getting done. And because we will be on the hook for it in the end, and if we take this property, we will never sell it because we will want to protect the schoolhouse. So we have to do our due diligence going forward. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. We, Vice Chairman, we looked at you to frame a motion. You've heard all of our comments and the 4 times we worked this agenda item. Is there anything that you could offer to reconcile the various points of concern that we can?
All right. Mr. Chair, what I would offer is a motion that we allow staff to negotiate a land lease with first right of refusal with the Thomasville Road property at a maximum of $20,000 to be brought back for our review, and that we would ask staff to bring back a budget discussion item on the 866 to own the rights of all the properties to move forward with or looking at the possibility of restoring Lake Hall property. That would be my motion, but I have just a couple comments after to see if Brother Knott gets a second there. All right, my comment is Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Dozier make some very good points. It's not very often that we are the first money in. It does put us at a large risk, and I actually believe that when we look at this piece of property and what we're trying to do here, I wish there was a historic organization with some resources to come to the table and be able to toss some money into it as well. So I think Commissioner Dozier's right in trying to get some solid commitments from the state, federal government on as we move forward. If we decide to budget this thing, that somebody's going to come to the table with the other 2.1 to make this reality. Because it's a steep price, and be honest with you, like I said before, we have a lot of priorities. We look at homelessness, we look at the crime issues and things like that. We have a lot of priorities before us, and 9 times, I would say 9 out of 10 folks that we talk to about this, if we said you want to spend $3.1 million, $800,000 on, homelessness or public safety versus, trying to reserve this for a museum, I think a lot of people will move towards that, looking at public safety or homelessness. Do I think this is important? Yes, I do. But what I'm saying is that I really would like to see some money come to the table from other organizations and some certainty not just on, okay, we can write grants and there may be, but some certainty behind if we take this chance of spending this money, that we're going to have some other people come to the table, and that $900,000 would be leveraged for $1.1 to $2 million to go ahead and finish out the project. So that's what I would be looking for moving forward. But I think this is a good start. The land lease would give us the right to have some discussions and make a decision and do it this right in a budgetary way. And then the budget discussion item will give us, staff be able to dig into it more as far as, well, actually, you know what, honestly, I don't even know if staff could dig into it more, but what they could do is tell us how this would work out with the budget as well as the revenues that we have coming in over the next year. And if we're at a deficit or if we're at a surplus and how this stuff works. And Commissioner Dozier, last thing I'll say, I think you had a good point there. And I don't want this to be in the net zero budget or 95% budget that staff brings. I think it's smart for us to get our budget together, have a discussion about this, and see if we can work it into the budget. So I think this puts us in a good place to be able to move this forward. But I'm like Commissioner Proctor in that at some point, we got to come to a resolution. There's no doubt that this board cares about reserving this property. I mean, 4 meetings since January, right, Commissioner Dozier? Since December, we're talking about having another one to talk about the land lease, and then another one to talk about the budget discussion item. That would be 6 meetings on this one issue. In my tenure, I don't think that we've had 6 meetings on one item, much less 6 meetings on one item in the short span of time that we're talking about. So we got to come to a resolution.
Okay, this is a great, excellent motion capturing so many elements. One round, brief, succinct comments, responses by each commissioner, Minor, Dozier, Welch, Cummings, and Jackson, and we will vote the matter. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I'm just planning to support the motion. Thank you very much.
Very good. Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair, 2 quick questions. Mr. Vice Chair, I appreciate your comments, and I think we all, again, want to get it done, but this is more challenging than a lot of projects that are presented to us. The lease extension, I've forgotten to ask a question about that. I mean, it's an intriguing idea, but that is completely contingent on whether or not the property owner even wants to entertain that, yes, right? Yes. So were you asking for another agenda item or another at our next commission meeting? Or, I mean, so, if he says no, then... If
he says no, then but I'm asking us to give staff the ability to go negotiate and bring it back to us. If he says no, then it is what it is. Because there's no way to get the funds before October, so that's okay. The second question for Mr. Vice Chair, those additional questions, and it may be early, I want to acknowledge this for the county administrator and county attorney, it may be early to have specifics about what cost or what other factors we may have to consider should we move forward with purchasing, but could we at least have a summary of issues that we would need to look at and that are potential, protecting the property insurance, those types of things that we would have to consider in the near future? Thank you, Commissioner. I think that's prudent and necessary. Yes, I would.
We want an inventory of potential costs that may not be foreseen right now or seen, but which might be foreseeable.
Just clarification. Totally understood the motion, but the piece right there, I want to make sure we get right, Commissioner Dozier. Did you say you want that included in the item that comes back on the land lease?
I wasn't thinking of the land lease. Budget discussion item.
In the budget discussion item, absolutely.
Should we move forward with that? And Mr. Chair, I don't know if the county administrator can get us specific numbers because county attorney is shaking her head. So I think the best we may get is just a list of things that we have to consider immediate to give even the friends access to the property, or just kind of. I think you have where I'm going with that, Ms. County Administrator. We need to know what would be immediate if we took possession of the property, and then what other things we may have to consider in the future.
We'd like to see some numbers from the property appraiser on these properties as well. No, Mr. Administrator, we deserve to see what the property appraiser's numbers are. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank all of you for your thoughtful consideration and very collegial deliberation of this important topic. I think that, there's always going to be a lot of reasons to say no. We just need one reason to say yes. So I think this is a small step in the right direction, and I appreciate your, willingness to take that step. Thank you.
Commissioner Cummings?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly support Commissioner Maddox's motion. I think from the standpoint of the commission, I think we have to be fiscally responsible for taxpayers' funds. We certainly have to be concerned about any potential deficits in our budget. And I think this particular approach shows that we are certainly fiscally responsible, concerned, and we're also concerned about preserving our history. So I appreciate, as Commissioner Wilkes said, the discussions. Appreciate our county attorney keeping us on track from a legal standpoint as well as our county administrator. But I believe this is a step in the right direction to achieve, I believe, what we all want to achieve, and that's preservation of the property, in the best way, the most fiscally responsible way that we can. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No additional comments, except for I think I left Max Epstein out when he spoke at the podium. I think those were our schedule of speakers, and it's amazing what ideas people can come up with when things matter. So no further comments. I'll stick to where we were.
Very good. I will just say, Dr. C, to those of you who are supporters of this, it occurs to me that this property, if it closed after 1954, after Brown versus Board, that the school board has dumped this property like a disposable diaper, and that a property line flows through a public school that had been in existence since it began, that only negligence on the part and indifference on the part of the school district would allow for some property line to get drawn through a school which they had owned since the 1800s. I don't get it. But because of who it served and because it was separate and unequal, that is what allows for it to be just languishing in the middle of something that, in these lines of other property ownership, they didn't care. That didn't happen at Leon High School. You couldn't draw a line between Leon High School and the school district sat there and did nothing. Negligence. I believe that the historicity, which is you seek to preserve, that the school district ought have some money to put in this project. They're the ones who abandoned. County government is not responsible for school. We ain't done nothing. We ain't got nothing under our mandate authority that we're over schools other than what we do as a pass-through for the collection of taxes that go to them. Do we have anything to do with schools? The chairman of the school board was here a minute ago. I was looking for him, and he heard this. Why ain't the school board? They did this to this area. They did this to these people, and they had far more oversight than Leon County Board of County Commissioners today, years ago, or any other time. They dropped the ball. And they dropped the ball because it was a little black school in the middle of nowhere. Now, most of those little schools, some plantation owner typically gave a little school, some, and little children come to it. That's a private little school. They weren't under public auspices per se. They were just doing something benevolent. But if this was a public school, the public school district needs to be held accountable for doing something if this history means so much. But the fact that it closed in the 1960s, that's the same time that the public schools of Leon County closed the original Lincoln High School. They didn't give a damn. They didn't give a damn about that school. They didn't give a damn about Lincoln School, one my mama went to. So I just see a wave of political, social indifference, and maybe because it was in the immediate area of the Civil Rights Act of 64. Maybe it was in the immediate area of 1965 Voting Rights Act. Maybe it was just in a period when there was backlash against black people being informed at all. And so we closed those schools. close that one. From the itty bitty little children all the way up to the high school. In the city, right down there on Brevard Street, Boss Man Jackson lived right down the street on Macomb Street, which old original Lincoln was there. So it's not hard to connect the dots of indifference here. But it is certainly not a Board of County Commissioners' sole and singular task to re-up, to salvage that property of which our sister government, a school district, abandoned and did wrong from the giddy-up. And that little facility out there has ragged to the point where it is today from the 60s to now. It never comported with being equal. It was separate. It remained unequal for its full tenure. That anybody came out of there literate is an act of God. And people did come out of there because, like that little school my mother went to school on out there, can't even remember the name of the school. But a lot of people out there, shareholders, sharecroppers, definitely not shareholders, but sharecroppers certainly, they were in those areas and confined to those little itty bitty buildings. Now, I'm walking a little further with Commissioner Maddox because I understand the intensity of both Commissioner Welch, and I respect his intensity, and Dr. Say, who I respect immensely, and but I don't like abandonment. And abandonment is what the school district did, and we're being asked to clean up. And we put historic preservation stuff, layers on this property. But I'm walking with this issue because of all of those dynamics. But for $3.3 million, District 1 and 32304, I could bring a whole nother list and inventory, Commissioner Dozier, that living people, little boys and girls, there's been a whole list of things that we found in the discovery of 32304. I'd rather put $3.3 million on than an old building out there, just a building. Ain't nobody's mind coming through the door. Ain't no curriculum coming with it. Now, if this governor had anything to do with it, he wouldn't want us to be woke. He don't want to keep this. He don't want anything that would make the little white children discomforted. We're in a hell of a place right now. But I'm walking with this because your thoughts are good and genuine. But for $3.3 million, I have a lot of things in my head that we can do in 32304 right now. But I'm going to walk with this. All right, enough on this right here. Commissioner, our at-large Commissioner Sims has spoken well. He's advised everybody. County attorneys, anything you'd like to say right now that makes this impossible or prohibitive to us, this board? Would you advise us before we take this vote, or anything we should see a yellow flag or red flag?
No, Mr. Chairman, the motion is in the appropriate posture.
Okay. Mr. Administrator, is there any need for you to advise us as the posture of the motion's been set?
We got it. We got the motion.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Okay. Let us recess until 6.